recently, when I watch some of your tweets, I don't know if you've announced this or not. I don't know if you've joined APAC. I don't know if you are, if you are an advisor for them. Let me read some of these tweets.
This clip has been making the rounds on X. I can only imagine how not viral it's going on essentially any other platform, as we are discussing the golden cow of what is politics, which is Israel. Patrick Bet-David interviewing Dan Bilzerian, who has been on a recent crusade, unafraid to give his opinion on what he thinks about Israel in the dealings, the myth that is our greatest ally, along with a few other key items in their recent history, especially involving October 7th. And Dan Bilzerian does not hold back in what seems to be some awkward instances, especially the further they get with this. At certain points, it seems that Patrick Bet-David is beginning to get uncomfortable. And again, PBD being the much more business-oriented guy, seemingly less theologically driven about anything. It's a great watch. Let's go ahead.
Muslims aren't the problem. The open borders and motherfuckers and the media attacking nationalism, pushing DEI, transgenderism, and destroying moral values are the problem. August 4th. If you don't put America first as a U.S. politician, you are committing treason. Supporting Israel is bad for America. Netanyahu is a convicted war criminal, and Israel is not our ally. We fought way too many wars for Israel, and we certainly don't need to give them any more money. July 25th. These idiots have ruined movies. Everything they put out is literally propaganda. And then all of a sudden we got scripture here. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Is this recent, comments you're making about Israel a recent thing, or have you always had these beliefs?
It's more recent. I didn't really realize what a problem it was until recently, and then everybody was scared to say something about it. My brother told me, you can't say anything about it. They'll fucking kill you. Everybody basically said that I couldn't say anything about it. And actually now they're literally trying to kick me off the board of my company because of those tweets. So
shit.
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of negative pushback, a lot of my Jewish friends, but I don't give a fuck. It's one of those things where I know that it's the right thing. And the fact that everybody else is scared to say it makes me, feel obligated to be vocal about it.
Why do you think it's the right thing?
Because I know that they're a fucking parasite. They provide the U.S. absolutely no value. They've done so many things that, would constitute, an act of war against us. I mean, USS Liberty, Lebanon Affair, I can go on and on and on and on and on. But, I think they knew about 9/11. I think they had JFK assassinated. The first thing that he wanted to do, right before he died was, make AIPAC a foreign entity, and not allow them to have nukes. And then all of a sudden this fucking guy's dead. And Jack Ruby, who is Jack Rubenstein, it's just and then you just, I don't know, man, I can't ignore all the shit that they've done. They sold their secrets. Netanyahu lied to us about weapons of mass destruction. We fought all these fucking wars. My friends have died over there. And I just look at what they provided us with, and it's fucking, it's not nothing. It's like a negative, it's not, even if they just didn't do jack shit, that would be, bad, but they've actually done things to hurt us over and over and over again. So this whole thing of they're our greatest ally is just complete fucking bullshit. And, we send them $100 billion, then they send AIPAC $100 million, and then they distribute it to our politicians, and every politician is a little fucking AIPAC handler walking around and telling them what to fucking say and how to vote. And it's just look, I'll donate $100,000 to politicians, and they call me up hey, you need anything? Every week. I don't need shit. I fucking sit on my ass. I don't do anything. I don't care. I don't fucking break any laws. I don't need any favors. I just gave it to them because I didn't want to see any more fucking retard, Democrats in there. So, but that's 100,000. What does 100 million buy you? How many fucking phone calls do those guys get? And so I just know how it works, and the system is broken. These people get into office and they don't have very much money, and they get out of office with fucking tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not a fucking accident, right?
He says, and I quote, "Because I know it's the right thing, and I know nobody else will say anything, it makes me feel more obligated to say it." And that hits home truly for myself as someone who's done this for quite a while, speaking as much truth as I possibly can to what I find to be just outright wrong, lies, fake, not real, ungodly. And I do share most of his sentiments. And the thing is too, is this is coming from somebody who truly like did not appreciate anything at all about Dan Bilzerian. This is somebody who formerly led a life of a very degenerate lifestyle, right? I think a lot of his money came from like weird kind of gambling stuff. I'm not really sure the actual root of his money, but to see such a turnaround and him be so willingly take on the losses, the losing the millions of dollars and being, excised by the communities he was once a part of to take this stance that's clearly against the mainstream positions. It's very respectable. And I would like to point out too, this conversation is on the daily slowly becoming very mainstream. Now, obviously, the conflict itself is one thing between Israel and Palestine and so on and so forth. But the actual conversation about the influence that Israel exhibits, or I guess I should say exerts upon America, and all of the byproducts we see from that is just, it's too much. The too much doesn't make sense. And so I think it's good now when you have people pushing on it, especially people like Candace Owens as well. We're getting to a point in which the popular position will be the isolationist position. It will be the we are not going to send money to these countries anymore, especially when you highlight things like the USS Liberty or the fact that they've sold our secrets to China. But again, we got more to go.
Right? Is that an Israel thing or is that anybody? Because China's doing the same thing.
China doesn't have they don't have an APAC. Like Israel is the only one that has a fucking like a lobby in the U.S. fucking giving these politicians money.
Okay, no, every country, the big ones all have lobbyists. They all have lobbying that they're doing.
Not in the U.S. They're registered as foreign entities.
Right. I mean, if you're talking about, are you going to the dual citizenship part with Israel? Israel.
That's another problem. Is a lot of our politicians have far more allegiance to Israel than they do the United States. I mean, that's a whole nother issue as well.
Do you know why they did the dual citizenship? Do you know the history behind why they did the dual citizenship?
What do you mean?
Like, so the whole concept of dual citizenship was because when Israel became a country again, they didn't want the people from here who wanted to go back to Israel that didn't have a motivation to go if they were going to lose their citizenship here. So that was the reason why they did it. It was kind of like, okay, you're your own country. We kind of need some of you guys to move over there to help the country out. Yeah, but I'm not going to go. Why are you not going to go? Am I going to lose my citizenship here? But you are. I mean, we don't do that. Every other country, I don't want to lose my citizenship. Well, okay, how about if we do this? How about if we allow you, just Israel, to go back to your country, you won't lose your citizenship? That was the arrangement at the beginning why they did it that way.
No, look, I get it. I have 3 citizenships. You know what I mean? I think it's okay. I think
what's the third one? I know Armenia, but what's the
St. Kitts?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have an issue with dual citizenship. My issue is when somebody is holding a U.S. office and they are putting a foreign nation's interest before America's interest, and they are favoring that other country. And so that to me is treason. Like when you are a U.S. government official, your motivation should be to do things in the best interest of the government that you are representing, not 100%. Some other fucking foreign country. And that's the problem.
In my opinion, he doesn't go nearly far enough here. I can't understand why we would allow someone who would hold a position of power to have dual citizenship. I think a very easy, very, very, very easy thing to implement would be if we're going to elect representatives, we're going to elect senators, we're going to elect presidents, and any other position that is elected to represent America, dual citizenship should be off the table. I don't understand. It is an obvious, a very apparent conflict of interest. How am I, a single citizen of the United States with no plan to ever be a dual citizen anywhere else, supposed to trust you at your word? Really? We're going to put politicians in this position where it's like, oh, okay, I'll just trust that you're going to have America's interests at hand. When we could just simply cement it by law and say, if you plan on having dual citizenship, you can't run for this position. If you do want to run for a position, you must rescind your citizenship to the foreign country. Simple as.
Okay, so, but go through it. So what is the solution? Meaning, if Israel's the enemy, then if let's just say you don't do anything and everybody in the Middle East unites to take out Israel, do you think the Middle East is better without Israel? And do you think the world's a safer place without Israel?
100%. It's not even close.
Okay, tell me why. Why do you think?
Give me an argument otherwise, please.
But
give me one argument why the world would be better off with Israel. Let's just start with that. One thing. Give me one thing.
Have you ever lived in the Middle East?
No.
I lived there for 10.5 years. It's a very it's not as like here. You can sit here. You can be an atheist. You can be an agnostic. I can be a Christian. He can be a Jew. He can be an LDS, Muslim. No problem. We can coexist here. You can do that in Israel. You can do that.
I mean, not really. They're operating apartheid right now. So everybody's not living equally.
Not at the level of Iran. Not at the level of what Iran is doing. I mean, in Iran, if you're thinking what Israel is doing out of control, do you know how much money Khamenei's families made? Do you know how much money they've taken? They have 200.
I've never been to Iran, but I've been to Dubai. I've been to Saudi. Like I've been to UAE. So like, and they're all Muslim. They seem to be operating fine.
I would say Iran's slightly different than. But go back to it. So okay, so you think the Middle East and the world would be a better place if Israel didn't exist?
Yes.
Okay.
Israel's committed, so many terrorist attacks. They're stealing land right now. They're operating apartheid. They're currently committing a genocide on Palestinians. Like, do you believe in the genocide they're committing?
I think they're fighting for themselves and they're defending themselves.
Do you think that's defense? Well, when 1,200 people died, and of which the 1,200 you've killed and admitted that you've killed a lot during, your Hannibal.
I will tell you this. The part I question where people who are Jewish can't stand when I say this, I don't know how you, Netanyahu, claim you have the best intelligence in the world, Mossad, and you didn't know that on October 7th they're attacking.
They knew about it. They didn't. They wanted it to happen, so they had a reason to take that. Yeah, they wanted a reason to take the land.
I totally get it.
And they killed their own citizens. And they claimed that all these people got raped. That was bullshit. They claimed beheaded babies. That was bullshit. Everything that they said was a fucking complete. Not only was it a lie, but they committed all those atrocities themselves to the Palestinians and been caught doing it. In fact, they just got caught gang raping Palestinians. How many babies have they killed? All the things that they accuse the Palestinians of or Hamas of or whatever, they're guilty of 100-fold themselves. And they've been doing that. Like October 7th wasn't the start of this. Like the start of this was Nakba. They've done so many different.
Disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not like, it's not like October 7th is like, it's all of a sudden they just came over there unsolicited and just killed people. Like they have been killing Palestinians for years and years, operating two sets of justice. It's like they have the justice for the Palestinians and the justice for the Israelis. And if you read the Talmud, like, if you're not Jewish, you're basically not a human. You're like, like cattle.
For myself personally, that's always been the biggest eye-opener, especially somebody who has been, obviously surrounded by Christian influences my entire life. But more specifically, the fact that I've grown up understanding different religions as well, right? It's part of just the American the American life, obviously, being surrounded in what people call the melting pot, although it's really not a melting pot. It's a lot closer to a salad, right? Because most of these cultures never truly assimilate, but that's a side point. I think the main point here, though, that I did want to point out is the fact that why is the Talmud in the Jewish scripture not really ever spoken about? And I compare this to the fact with the Quran, right? I think most people understand what the Quran is and could tell you where it's from. I think a lot less people could tell you what the Talmud is and where the Talmud comes from. And I think right there you have a big disparity between a familiarization of what these two different ideologies are about. And I think you can even piggyback off of that with the fact that we have previously, gone to war with, arguing with weapons of mass destruction. We've done things so much in the culture to highlight these differences in theology. The people want to point out the jihad. And again, I view both as being entirely false religions, but it's curious when both are antithetical to what Christianity is, and that's supposed to be the foundation of what makes America, that we only have this really, really harsh opinion of one that's actually always out in the media, that's very, very open, that most people can actually interact with, even your average person can understand. But then you take that to Judaism, it's like people are like, what? I never heard that before. What's that? And it makes you think, seeing how we clearly have, or they're supposedly our greatest ally, as well as having like many, many, many Jewish influences here in the country, yet we seemingly have so little of an idea of what their actual beliefs are. Now they're going to go into it a little bit further and break down specifically the fact of which is Jewish superiority, especially as it's laid out in their scripture. And I'm glad that he goes into this too, because it's some of honestly the most really disgusting rhetoric. And people want to point out with the jihad, it's a violence. It's a religion of violence, and I do agree with that. A lot of there's the third externalities that you can see from the religion, I think, exhibit themselves in more ways than one. But with Judaism, it's not. It's less so violence. It's more so about some kind of like perverted standard structure. And you go even further to differences in explicit things with like sexuality, especially in regards to like young children as well. I think there's just so much there. And I think the reason why, too, these conversations come off as just like, whoa, is paired with the fact that you have been nonstop bombarded by World War II this, World War II this, Holocaust. And you have what? There's like one Passion of the Christ. So the average person is so much more familiarized with like the great like the great huge, the big bad, right, which is the Holocaust, but very little to speak towards that in Hollywood of like Christianity, the one that we should have the closer relationship. And so I'm telling you from my perspective, as I've slowly gone on this journey, slowly peeling these things back, and again, I say to you, it doesn't make sense. Over and over and over again, our greatest ally, all these things that just, they don't add up. And they culminate inside of these instances where October 7th, you get inundated, right? And understand it's fifth generational warfare as well, but we were inundated. Social media was rife, some of the worst videos I've ever seen. And then you learn later after the fact, most of it was fake. They're doing all this stuff to stage things. It is indeed projection, exactly what Dan Bilzerian said. You had Ben Shapiro pushing some of these images that were being detected by AI, not detected by AI, but they were using scanning metrics to determine that half of these images were made by AI, again, in an effort to use this as a casus belli to then inflict more damage on the region. At least from where I'm standing, I find most of it to be entirely reprehensible, especially when you go and you sacrifice some of your own people. You don't utilize your own data. You're supposedly the leader in intelligence, right? That's the whole point. The outposts of the Middle East. And they turn it off in order to ensure that they can continue to enact out violence. There's a good bit more. Let's keep going.
If a Jew is killed by somebody that's not Jewish, then it's the death penalty. If a Jew kills somebody that's not a Jew, then you can't kill them. It's not the death penalty. Like they literally like segregate in their Bibles.
They're very protective of themselves. I don't think anybody can debate that. I don't think it's a
it's not the problem isn't that they're protective of themselves. The problem comes when you think that you're better than other people, and you think it's okay to lie to anybody that's not a Jew. You think it's okay to steal from people that are not a Jew. You have two sets of standards. The problem with that is it allows you to rationalize anything, right? And human beings are generally self-serving creatures. So if your fundamental religious belief system allows you to operate in such a way that you believe there isn't consequences to stealing from other people, killing other people, raping, kids that are under 9 years old, like if you think those things are okay, then, how are you going to operate? Because to me, like my moral code keeps me on track.
I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it's because you're saying it one-sided. You're not telling the other side of the story of what they're doing either. You're not saying what Hamas did. You're not saying what they did.
What did Hamas do?
I mean, from day one, when you see the rapes and the videos, we've all seen it. This isn't something
what rapes and videos?
But stay on this here if you want to continue with this.
But what rapes and videos?
But my concern when you're saying Israel's doing it, you're saying the other side isn't doing anything.
No, but I'm asking. No. There was no rapes during October 7th. They've shown no rapes from October 7th. They showed no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
I'll send you stuff. No. There's plenty of stories. It's not all of them.
The Israeli articles that I saw recently said that there was only 2 babies killed. One was shot by a bullet, and the other one died in a hospital. There was no babies in ovens. There was no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
Okay, so go back to the part when you said they think they're better than you. You believe
this had to have been one of the more awkward moments I've seen PBD kind of operate in, because he literally goes like, you know, the videos, like we saw them, and it's like this consensus tool that Dan Bilzerian is like, what are you talking about? Like, be specific. Like, what do you mean? Which ones? And PBD just goes back to like, you know, the video. Like he's acting as if like he's getting a little bit irritated that Dan Bilzerian just won't admit to seeing these videos, when Dan Bilzerian makes the earlier argument that like this stuff was fake. And I have seen these instances where they were doing behind the scenes. I've seen people point out the fact that some of these videos, they're literally like laughing in the background. They can't keep straight faces. Now, to be honest and to be completely fair, it is entirely on both sides with this psychological warfare, right? Like, both sides have been doing these imitation videos. But in particularly with the babies, I've also seen the same report in which one was killed in a hospital and the other one was indeed shot. But none of the far-reaching rhetoric of like, oh, they were putting them in ovens, they were beheading them, you know, the high shock value instances. And I'm actually really, really impressed that Dan Bilzerian stood his ground here. But again, it's to be expected from somebody who knew what was going to happen the moment he started speaking out against these things. I do need to specifically add a slight asterisk, though. The reports of the mass rapes have largely been decried, as well as not proven. But as far as what I have seen, there were 3 confirmed instances of it happening. However, again, a far cry from what was being reported as these mass waves of violence, and I guess I should say sexual violence.
That Jews think they're better than everybody else.
It says it in their Bible.
Okay, but you believe they're better than everybody else. Okay.
I didn't say they're better than everybody else.
They think.
According to their scripture.
Okay, but what if...
And if you look at how they operate, right, like they literally caught people raping Palestinian prisoners, and there was riots. But the riots weren't because they were raping the prisoners. The riots were because they felt like they had the right to rape the fucking prisoners. That's why they almost had a fucking civil war, because they felt like they had the right to rape these prisoners. They felt like that was okay because they weren't Jewish. So, you know, when you have a society that operates like that, you're going to have fucking problems. And they're not the fucking most moral army. That's all fucking bullshit. And, you know, everything that they say, it's just like almost like, listen, when somebody lies to me, like if you lie to me, I'm not probably going to trust you again. You lie to me a second time, I'm definitely not going to trust you. You lie to me a third time, and I let you lie to me the third time, I'm the fucking idiot. These motherfuckers have lied like 10,000 times. So, like, I don't believe anything they say anymore.
I come from a place of, I don't sit here expecting you to tell me 100% the truth.
Do you need to hear anything else? Like, I was blown away when PBD goes, you know, I don't expect people to tell me the truth. What? Like you expect to just be lied to? Then why would you trust anything at all that was ever said to you? How could you have any kind of moral grounding if you didn't have some kind of mechanism in which, okay, well, once this person lies to me at this point, like it's nonsensical. And now you have PBD just doing these insane mental gymnastics to continue this like really just paper-handed defense of why we should be involved, why we should be giving our money, why Dan is just like, He's not understanding that there's both sides to these things, yet still not giving anything towards that, and then essentially being just shut down over it. And the other thing I will point out too is the fact that he's sitting here trying to put words in Dan's mouth when Dan is like, this is what their scripture says. How could you be saying these things and taking these defenses if you are not at all familiarized with what is in their biblical text? You're going to sit here and tell me that you can understand everything about jihad and these are the reasons why these people do it, and we don't like that, and you have no idea at all what the moral backing of why the Jewish people do what they do. It's just bad reporting. It's just bad faith. It makes no sense. It's once again putting in the position of like, there's no way, just no way. I can't believe this is real. I will say, if you liked what you saw, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out quite a bit. But man, dude, you don't even have to come with me to the ecclesiastical foundations. You can at least say, we don't need to be sending billions of dollars to this ridiculous country and constantly indulge in the military complex as some chaotic battleground that we can constantly bomb from afar, while the elites get to vote us all over there and send the kids, send the children, send the younger generations to ensure that they enrich everyone back at home. It is just the most disgusting thing, and I, for one, am tired of it. I hope you are too. Take care. Peace out. Crisis King.